Good evening, this is your Weekend Notts TV News. I'm Hugh Casswell. Thousands of runners have today been taking part in the first ever Nottingham 10k race. Among them, Forest and England legend Stuart Pearce, who along with the Lord Mayor, Councillor Mohammed Sagir, got the run underway in the Old Market Square this morning. The road race, staged by Jane Tomlinson's Run for All, is thought to have raised tens of thousands of pounds for various charities and is a cause that the former Forest man says he was keen to get behind.
Yeah, I mean, obviously my connection with Nottingham's been big over the years, so it's nice always to come back here. And I think, you know, the amount of people that have turned up raising money for charity is absolutely fantastic.
Overall, almost 87% of children in the city of Nottingham have got their first choice. That's just over 3,300 kids. Another 6% have got their second choice, and with both first and second choices combined, the amount getting into either is up by 2% on last year. There are, though, still over 150 children who've been given mandatory offers. That's those who've been unsuccessful with any of their choices, but 90 of those had only given one preference. With the statement from the Goddard inquiry not expected until tomorrow, much of Councillor Rhodes' statement was qualified. An unreserved apology, yes, but the operative phrase being if Nottinghamshire County Council is found to have failed. Watching closely from the public gallery were a number of representatives of child abuse survivors groups. The statement drew applause from some of them, but in the context of what is an inquiry into historical abuse over a number of decades, it could still be a long road ahead. Well, it's just gone 12:30. We're about an hour into the count now. Still no result expected for a few hours yet, but what we do know is voter turnout across Nottinghamshire, 21.8%. The highest numbers are in Rushcliffe, where more than a quarter have voted. The lowest, though, Mansfield, just 18%. Now, overall, there has been an increase of about 5% on the 2012 PCC election. Those numbers, though, still a good deal lower than any of the candidates might have hoped. While people in the camp maintain that they are vulnerable and won't move until their demands are met, they're very much at a stalemate with the City Council, which has expressed doubt as to whether or not many of them are legitimately homeless. They say they'll deal with them in the same way they deal with illegal encampments of travellers, but while the necessary legal action is ongoing, there are a number of residents nearby who are pretty fed up. In fact, when a community protection officer visited homes on Cliff Road, of 22 responses, 14 of them raised a variety of concerns. Absolutely everything about the display is, well, pretty mind-boggling, really. Yes, there are over 32,000 paintings, but that's the combined work of more than 10,000 artists. They've used 30 litres of glue to stick it all together, and if all of these boards were laid end-to-end, they'd stretch almost 3 kilometres, or rather, twice the height of Ben Nevis. Wallerton Hall is, of course, a building steeped in history. When it was completed in 1588, it would have only ever been lit by candlelight. Then, over the years, it's been refitted with gas, and then in the late 19th century, electric lights. Now, with the changeover to LEDs, electricity still the power source, but a lot less of it is needed. And of course, energy saved equals money saved. A step up for Britain. That's what the government says the new national living wage is. The effect, though, is set to be felt differently across the country, depending on the proportion of people with lower incomes. In Nottingham, it's estimated that 20% of workers will immediately benefit from higher pay, or rather about 90,000 people. Compare that to London, only 11%. And at the other end of the scale, in Mansfield, almost a third of all employees should get a pay rise. One of the industries in which a large amount of workers are set to see the benefit is retail.
It's obviously going to help people because, you know, they're going to have that little bit of extra money in their pocket, which means they can maybe afford a little bit more, or maybe have maybe put it towards more towards their lifestyle, like, you know, going out, shopping, that sort of thing. So it is great for people individually.
With companies now having to stump up extra cash to pay their staff, though, there are worries that many smaller businesses may struggle.
38% of our members feel that the new national living wage will have a detrimental impact, and we asked them what the changes they would make to try and lessen that impact. For the majority, they were looking at reducing staff hours, putting off production growth, changing the ways they are doing things. It might mean for businesses who were looking at moving to a larger premises, they are now not going to do that.
The owners of Hartley's coffee shop support the increase, but are still wary of the cost to them.
Obviously, for small businesses, our margins are very tight anyway, so an increase of 50p is quite a lot, because per employee that works out to roughly £1,000 a year. We won't be cutting any staff at all. We're at our bare minimum. We need all our staff.
The minimum wage before today was £6.70 per hour, and in fact for anyone aged 21 to 24 that's what it'll still be. For the over 25s though, it's an increase of 50 pence for every hour worked, taking the wage to £7.20, the new national living wage. Not to be confused though with what you've heard called just the living wage before now. That's an hourly rate which is completely voluntary for businesses, set by the Living Wage Foundation and recalculated every year based on the cost of living in the UK. At the moment that is set at £8.25. So do people think that the national living wage should be more?
Yeah, it increased further. Probably about £7.70.
I think the new minimum wage seems reasonable for now. Maybe look at it and see what the effect is in a couple of years.
I think it should be a lot more, especially for people who do long hours, people that have their lives at risk every day, like myself, a security guard.
Yeah, I mean, I think big employers should, and I think small employers should, should do what they can. We've got, we're a small employer, and we pay people living wage.
There are already plans for a further increase in the pipeline. It could be more than £9 by 2020. Hugh Casswell, Notts TV News.